Hey everybody, we're here in Philly covering the NSCAA Convention. We've got tons of great interviews with some of the top coaches in the college game, talking about recruiting, talking about what players need to consider before they go to their colleges. Check it out. As far as the college recruiting process goes, so parents and younger players understand it. I mean, what are some of the things you're looking for in a younger athlete before you sign them?
The most important thing that we're looking for in the recruiting process is the mental side of the game, and that's also the hardest thing to evaluate. So the mental side of the game, we're trying to look for passion and commitment and focus, determination, self-motivation, work ethic, toughness, mental toughness, physical toughness, aggressiveness. I think I said competitiveness, but these are the things that we're looking for. It's the mental side of the thing that makes the difference. There are plenty of good athletes out there, so we obviously are looking for athletes because there's only so much we can change about your athletic makeup. We're going to not make someone who's slow fast, so someone who's fast is certainly going to attract our attention. But for me, the mental side is the most important thing.
Well, we expect them to be well-rounded players that know how to train. Fitness can be an issue for some of these players coming in because they don't really know what it takes at the college level. It's very demanding with Friday, Sunday games, travel, academics on top of it. So it can be a little bit of a stress. So they need to know how to handle that. And some of the things we want to tell the recruits is to slow down. No one's in a rush, but it seems to be everything's speeding up so fast. So slow down, take your time, take your visits, and get around and really do your homework.
And I just think what's lost in recruiting, sometimes these kids don't realize how aggressive the college game is. And that's just not men's soccer, that's women's soccer. It is so tough, and if you're not mentally tough, you're going to find it very hard. And unfortunately nowadays, there's a lot of players that are quitting the game in college, transferring out, because they want to find a more passive style, which I hate to inform everybody, but it's a very aggressive style. And I really believe the college game has changed to a faster pace, a more technical more technical level now than ever before, and it still needs work with more flair and more creativity.
The recruiting process is younger and younger, and I don't think anybody is happy with how early the recruiting process happens for the top recruits. At least I don't think so. I think there is some upside to the player and the parent potentially, but there's a lot more downside than upside, and especially for someone like me and many of the college coaches who are trying to evaluate the mental piece, that takes time to evaluate that, and it's harder and harder to find the right players given the earlier and earlier timing of the recruiting process.
Well, some of the things that have changed is there's a lot more parity. So there's a lot more players, but there's also many more college teams. There's over 300 just Division I teams right now. So I do think it's happening too fast. The bodies change so much while they're in high school. Those ages from freshman to senior years. So I think the process needs to slow down. And we've actually met with U.S. Soccer and Sunil Gulati as a coaches group just yesterday here at the convention to talk about how we can slow it down and what are some things we can do as a coaches group. So we're hoping to maybe enforce some rules and get things slower.
Like we talked about, the high school game mirrors the college game more in that you're balancing academics and sports. You're playing for a school, like in college. The season starts and ends within 3 or 4 months. It's a very condensed period of time with training almost every day. I mean, should the high school soccer programs be more, of a benefit to colleges moving forward because so many things are similar?
I think so. One disadvantage I think we have at the high school level is that you have 55% of the states play in the fall, 15% play in the spring. Or, I'm sorry, 15% play in the winter, and then 30% play in the spring. So with that said, the college recruiting process, those coaches have a hard time knowing when to go watch these games because naturally they're playing in the fall. College is playing in the fall, and then you only have, you have, what is that? 40% or 45% are actually playing in the winter or the spring, and so to actually watch them, to see those students participate is a disadvantage. However, I think the sense of academics, in the school, I mean, it's as you mentioned, it's so very similar to college. So where what these kids have in high school, it's naturally it's going to be elevated in college because you've got to make sure your grades are up there first. You've got to do the right thing. And, not that the club game you don't have to do that, but no one's checking grades when it comes to the club. In the high school world, much like college, that's priority number one you must have to take care of.
Having been a club coach and a high school coach and having your son actually done the same thing and been successful through high school soccer and club, I mean, how do you see the high school game continuing to fit into the American soccer development system?
Well, I think I've been a high school coach. I was a high school coach for 25, 30 years. I've also been a club coach since we had club in Massachusetts, probably somewhere around the early 80s. So, and I've been involved in soccer for over 40 years. I think as far as the high school game is concerned, the high school game will never be replicated by an outside organization or club because it revolves around the town, and it revolves around the place in which you are educated and the place which the community looks at as where you grew up. So you can be part of a club which has 50 different towns involved. You can be traveling to, from Massachusetts perspective, you can be traveling to California, Florida, Europe, and anywhere else to become a better soccer player. But nothing takes the place of a high school game with your buddies in your town, with the local neighbors and the kids that are 14 years old looking at you and the kids that graduated coming back to watch it. It's never going to be replaced.